Today, Ford has generously offered to share a fast-paced AI training for our community. So let's get on with it. Please welcome the amazing Ford Saeks.
Thank you so much, Katrina. All right, so today, I hope you have your pens and pencils. You will get the video replay, but I want you to capture some notes because we're going to cover some amazing things and how you can actually leverage it. But let's get clarity around why is this even important? Why do we even care? Well, first of all, it's going to help you boost productivity, improve operations, streamline recruiting, expand your brand awareness. It'll help you accelerate and elevate your customer experience. It'll help you accelerate sales. And most importantly, it certainly will help you reduce your costs. And so this is perfect. So it doesn't matter whether you're new or whether you're experienced or whatever level you're at, whether you're a franchise developer in operations or a franchisee or a multi-unit owner, this is going to be perfect for you and everything that we're doing. Now, what's the outcome? Well, this is going to be relevant, as I said, for franchisors and franchisees. We're going to look at practical applications relevant to your position. We're going to cover the do's and don'ts. Absolutely, we're going to get into custom instructions and some of the new things that have come out in the last few weeks in ChatGPT and AI. And then we're going to do some live demonstrations. Now, for the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to refer to ChatGPT. Now, whether you're using Bard or Claude or one of the other thousands of AI integrations or software platforms, the same methodologies are going to apply. So just know that I'm going to reference ChatGPT a lot, but yes, I know that there's lots of other ones out there. So first thing, just like in any presentation or keynote or breakout that I do for the franchise industry, please, if you're a franchisee, you got to follow your systems and establish the best practices that are in alignment with your company's brand. All right, so there's the disclaimer. Let's look at the roles and responsibilities. What are your roles right now in your business? So as you're watching this, whether you're watching live or in the replay, what's your job responsibilities? Now, I don't know about you, but I certainly have a lot of opportunities where I'm wearing multiple hats, right? I'm a Hall of Fame keynote speaker, franchise consultant. I run a creative marketing agency. I'm on the board of a couple franchisor companies. I'm an investor. I'm a franchisee. So I have a lot of different hats that I wear, and I leverage the power of AI in all of those roles. So as you're looking at this today, adapt and think about the questions that you have relevant to your roles. So let's talk about bridging this gap. No matter where you are in the growth of your business, there's a gap between where you are now and where you want to be. And in all my research and for the last 3 decades working with franchisors and franchisees, I found that that gap always comes down to one of 3 areas. Mindset, because without the proper mindset, open mindset, of course, all the strategies, tactics, and systems in the world won't help. Then it's strategies. Well, you're in the franchise industry. The franchise industry is created and bound for following systems. So today I'm going to give you strategies on using AI, but I'm not talking about your specific strategies in your company. And then 3, it's tactics. So for you, if you don't have the mindset dialed in, strategy and tactics won't work. Strategies, put a checkbox there because you're in the franchising industry. So whether you're a franchisor or a franchisee, you've got systems. But then it comes down to the tactics. And I know you wear lots of hats and I know you have a lot going on. So we're going to get right into these strategies and tactics. I hope you're open-minded, again, because this is what this is all about. Now, I mentioned in the introduction, and Katrina did, that I've been speaking for decades in here. I've been working with a lot of brands. I'm a proud member of the International Franchise Association. I know we've got participants from the organization association online. So I highly recommend. I've been a supporter for years. You may have seen me at the IFA convention. Katrina and I exhibit. I will be there next year, 2024 also. And so, and then also multiple stages. So here's your first action step that I really want you to take. I want you to get these 3 accounts if you don't already. Now, if you're a beginner right now, don't worry. We're going to cover some very advanced things too, but I have to set the stage for those that might be watching the replay or maybe sharing this video after the event. So number one, chat.openai.com. That's the main one. I highly recommend that you get the pro account. It's $20 a month right now. And in the future, there's also going to be an enterprise version, which brands, franchisors will want to look at, because that allows you to use ChatGPT and keep your data encrypted. So if you're a franchisor, keep an eye out for the enterprise versions, which are going to be much more secure. Then there's bard.google.com and Claude. Now, the reason I have Claude listed here is because it allows you to have much larger data sets. So for example, Katrina mentioned in the beginning that, I'm the author of Accelerate, right? So, here's a copy of the book, shameless plug, right? But this book has like 60,000 words in it. I can take the PDF or the Word document for this entire book, upload it to Claude, and I can have it create lead magnets for me, social media posts, blog posts. So chat.openai has a limited prompt number of characters, where Claude lets you have up to 70,000. So if you're not using Claude, there's one of your takeaways right now, Claude.ai. So again, if you have questions, please put them into the Q&A in Zoom. We'll get to your hands. I promise. We're going to do some live demonstrations here. So we'll be sharing the screen and going through some of those things as we continue. But I want to lay the foundation as we're going here. So here's a very important tip. Treat AI as an intern. That's right, everybody, not as an expert. If you're just going to ChatGPT and it's garbage in, garbage out, if you're just treating AI like you do Google, you're probably going to fail. And we're going to get into some advanced prompting techniques to show you what the difference is. But please treat it as an intern. Just like if you hired somebody, you'd have to train them. You have to train the AI platform. Now, I'd be doing you a disservice if we didn't cover some of the pitfalls that people are running into when they jump in too quickly with AI and they're not really paying attention. So the first one is misaligned brand voice. Now that's essential for franchisors and franchisees. If you're a franchisor, we're going to talk about custom instructions and how to get your brand voice. And if you're a franchisee, you'll learn how to leverage that as it relates to the brand voice so that the output you get is congruent and compliant. But again, this technology is changing rapidly, but you have to be careful when you use this that it has the right voice. Number two, if you over rely on ChatGPT or any AI platform, you're probably going to get burned. So you have to do your due diligence and be in control. Number three, it will hallucinate data. That's right, everybody. It will make things up. It will give you false answers and completely hallucinate and lie. I've even gone to the ChatGPT and I've asked it to provide a certain result. And it has said, I'm sorry, Ford, as an AI model, I can't do that. So then I went back to the prompt and said, well, hypothetically, if you could do it, what would it look like? And the next thing you know, I got my answer. So, you have to be really careful with these models because they can be tricked. Number four, there's biases. Both Bard and ChatGPT and all the other platforms have been programmed large language models. And so even though they take all of their learning and they come up with new original content, it is bias. And then, of course, I mentioned it earlier, there's security and privacy concerns. Privacy concerns meaning that when you put information in, I don't care what your privacy settings are set at, I still don't trust it. I assume that anything I put in is probably going to be used in the large language model. Full disclosure, this presentation, sponsored by franchisespeakers.com, is for educational and informational purposes only. Please do your due diligence and follow your systems. Okay, see, Katrina, I got the disclaimer right in there. All right, here we go. So let's look at the use cases. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each one of these. I'm going to go through, there's 16. I'm going to go through a few, and then that's going to be able to prompt your questions to say, wow, I want to learn more about that. Well, let's look at the first ones. First, franchise development. In any area, AI can help you with that. improve meeting debriefs. This is one that Katrina and I really like. So sometimes, we've all had these Zoom meetings where we've had maybe an hour conversation, whether it was with a client or maybe a franchisor is having it with a franchisee or whatever your relationship is. And when you get off that Zoom call, you've got all these notes. Well, here's what I do. If I'm on a pre-event call, when Katrina books me for a conference, and thank you, Katrina, I'm flying out next week, so appreciate that. But when I have the pre-event discovery call with the franchise executive team and the planning committee, I ask them a lot of questions. And then what I do is I take the Zoom video, I upload it to Saeks.ai, but Zoom also can transcribe it. So bottom line is you get a transcription. Then I take that transcription into Claude and I say, please summarize the call notes, make specific notes for the CRM records, my client relationships management records, and give me specific action steps on what I'm going to do and what they're going to do. So for example, when I get booked, I do a pre-event teaser video. I send books ahead of time. So that would be in my action steps. But when I meet with the client, they have to send me samples of their local marketing guides and their best practices. And so that when I present, it's in alignment and congruent with their brand. Well, I can take that Zoom recording, transcribe it, take it into AI, get the summary. So in no time, I've got a complete summary of what the meeting is. So again, think about how you could use it. I love it for meeting debriefs. We've got content creation, of course, but you've got to do your due diligence. Treat it as an intern. Obviously for social media engagement. Next, it can help you with standard operating procedures. So you can say, I'm a franchisee. I want closing requirements. Here's my instructions from the franchisor. What am I missing? And it can help you create an SOP, standard operating procedure. It'll definitely help you with email. Now, I use an email AI program called superhuman.ai. I'm not making money off any of these recommendations I share with you today. Do your due diligence. Language translation. I was speaking for a franchise brand in the hospitality space last week. And, they need to be able to recruit in different languages. So we had it in 3 different languages. They had their job description, which of course is different than the job ad, right? The description's the contract for the position, and the job ad is what you're going to use to attract and attract new candidates. Well, we went in and we did it in English. Then we did it in Spanish. And then we did it in another language, which I can't pronounce, but it was an Indian language, and it wrote it. So again, multilingual uses, there's all kinds of uses there. Obviously it'll analyze big data, but like I said, you got to be careful with the big data one, because if you put your customer data in without using an enterprise or privacy version, you're sharing your data publicly. And so use your due diligence and be careful as that goes. Now, I know some of you are thinking, wow, this is going fast. For everybody out there, this is not a keynote presentation. This is an interactive workshop that we're doing. If you have questions beyond today, I'm just going to pop this little thing up right now. 15 with Ford. For anybody who's watching this or anybody who's on a replay, if you don't get your questions answered, go to 15withford.com. It's an Acuity link. It gets you straight to my calendar. It'll be confidential, and I'll answer whatever questions that you have there. All right, moving on. So the last 6, market research. Maybe you're doing site locations. It can analyze the data there. Certainly AI can help you generate leads, do business plans. Again, I know you're a franchisor or brand, a franchisee, follow your systems, but it can help you with marketing plans. Legal forms. This was a great one. So Katrina recently booked me at another conference, and I have a separate recording rights agreement if they want to record the presentation. And so I have my recording rights presentation. They said, no, we want to use ours. So they sent me this 4-page, 9-point font, recording rights agreement. Well, I don't know about any of you, but I didn't want to sit down and read that. So I went into ChatGPT and I said, I'm Ford Saeks, blah, 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 business speaker. I'd like you to look at this. I'd like you to act as my intellectual property attorney and help review this agreement and tell me if there's any red flags. And it came back with 3 red flags. I was able to change go back to the client with, hey, can we change these 3 clauses? And they said, sure. Now, I'm not saying that AI is a replacement for legal. So if you're an attorney or in the legal profession, let it go. You don't need to put in the chat, no, don't use chat. If you're negative and you don't believe in this technology, I get it. But AI is not going to replace humans. It's going to replace humans that aren't using it. Now, I've been saying that since October. I know it's been used everywhere, but I as soon as I saw this as a digital marketer and a local area marketing expert, I'm like, man, this is going to change the world. It's a sentient being, and people and businesses need to be aware of how this is going to impact them. Excel formulas, we'll do some real life examples about Excel coming up. And then, of course, HTML programming. You can actually ask it to write code, and it will write programming code in multiple languages. We'll go through some of those as we go into the real examples. So now let's notch it up a level, and let's talk about setting up your ChatGPT program. Again, you can use Bard and some of the other ones, but I want you to also use ChatGPT, at least initially, to get started. Now, there are defaults, plugins, and extensions. We're going to talk about the defaults because that's something that's going to certainly help you stay in compliance with your brand. Now, I'm going to show you on the slides here. I'm going to take it full screen, so I'm out of the way. But in ChatGPT, and I'll show you where this is, there are beta features. But at the time of you watching this, they might have already made those regular features. But the points are plugins and advanced. Go to ChatGPT, pay the $20, then you'll see the beta features. If you don't see the beta features, it's because you're not on the paid version. One of the advantages, and then it's month to month. You can cancel if you don't like it. But one of the advantages of that is you get ChatGPT 4, you get the advanced data analysis, which used to be called the code interpreter. You get the plugins, and you get the custom instructions, which we're going to look at here in just a second. So that's what we're going into. Now, let me explain what this is about, because if you understand the reason why, it'll make more sense. Prior to a month ago, at the date of this live broadcast, you had to train it every single time you started a new thread. You had to say, I'm Ford Saeks, I'm a Hall of Fame keynote speaker and franchise business speaker, blah, blah, blah. But now I don't have to do that because they have something called custom instructions. So everybody on this call or watching the replay, you need to go set up your custom instructions. Now, I'm going to go through how mine are set. You can adapt these, of course, to whatever is best for you. So there's 2 questions in custom instructions. The first instruction is, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you? And the second question is, how would you like it to respond? So how many questions are there, everybody? There's 2. What do they need to know? And how do they want to respond? Okay, all right. So here we go. Let's get into it actually so you can get this set up. So this is really going to be important. Now, we're going to go full screen. So what would you want ChatGPT to know about you? Well, I'll show you what I use. Now, of course, this is going to be different for you. But this is the text. I've removed it because of this presentation. But I'm Ford Saeks. I'm a speaker. I've got franchising experience. I focus on these topics. I have a track record of billions of dollars in sales. I work with all types of brands. More importantly, my primary goal is to add value and deliver strategic and tactical solutions through content marketing, consulting, and speaking. My ideal clients are blank, blank, and blank. So you'd want to ask yourself, what would your custom instructions be for your brand? If you're a franchisor, you absolutely need to create your custom instructions that you're going to send out through your network to your family of franchisees so that they follow that model and you get the right brand voice. Now, that was a sampling. You can put many more characters into that. So your action step as a franchisor is to set up that custom instruction, and as a franchisee is to use the instructions that are approved by your brand. That's the first question. So the next question is, how would you like it to respond? I'm going to put this up full screen. You can add to this, but this is what I use. Now, this is what I use for everything. I use it for all brands. So first, follow my brand guidelines and style. Now, then I would actually put in more content. Number 2, or the second bullet, maintain a high level of organization. Suggest solutions. Treat me as an expert. Be complete in your responses. And here's one that I really like. Cite your sources whenever possible and use the URLs. Because I want to know, did you just make this content up, or is it actually, something new? Where did you get that? What was your methodology? What was your thinking? How do you want to format it? Now, again, we're talking custom instructions, box number 2 of the custom instructions. I'm going to continue with the last ones that are in my settings. I don't want it to waste time telling me an AI. So, remember that question a minute ago when I said, act as my intellectual property attorney and tell me if there's any problems with this recording contract? Well, I don't need it to come back and say, well, Ford, I'm a large language model and I can't really give you legal advice. I just tell it, ignore that. And so now my responses are much more accurate. List URLs at the end. This is a nice one. Identify any potentially overlooked solutions, because I might ask the AI program a prompt, but I might not know what I'm asking. So I want it to tell me, did I miss anything? Ask me more questions until you understand. And then the last one in my setting is, if the quality of your response has been substantially reduced because of these custom instructions, tell me why. Because there are times where the custom instructions might actually prevent me from getting all the information that I need. So again, you'll have to decide and look into that. All right, next. So that's custom instructions. If you have questions, I'll get to the questions. You can raise your hands and we'll be doing a live demonstration of this coming up here in just a minute. ChatGPT 4 has plugins, and there's a plugin store. Now I'm going to go live and I'm going to show you what this is, but for the purposes of the recording, if you're watching this and you want to pause the recording and do that. So there are all different types of plugins. Well, what are the plugins for? Well, the plugins can help you move data in and out of AI. It can help you with marketing automation. It can help you transcribe content. It can go out and watch videos. It can go read PDFs. Like, the plugins add superpowers to the AI. Again, spend the $20, get the paid version, start practicing with the plugins. Now I'm going to show you live here in just a minute what this is all about. So I'm going to give you an example first, and then I'm going to actually go live and show you what I'm talking about. So I asked ChatGPT, pull this full screen, with the Vox script plugin. This is the one that I use. I said, watch this YouTube video, transcribe it, then summarize the key points, then create an SEO optimized YouTube description and ask me any questions before you start. So I had a task. So I went and I used it. Well, because I was using ChatGPT 4 and I had the plugins, it left, it watched the video, transcribed it, and it produced all of those answers. So that was really, really helpful for my productivity. Now, you don't need to read the screen. This is just showing you that it watched that video, which was a video I did about a month ago on the power of AI. This is more advanced than that one. That was an original video that I did. This keeps advancing. And so it was the power of AI, and it came in and it said, oh, these are the things that were in the video. Then, remember I asked it to do the YouTube description? We're going to do it in just a second. The YouTube description, it did the optimized YouTube description with all the text. So what we're going to do now is let's go ahead and let's go live and do this. And I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to click new chat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, and don't worry about what's on the left-hand side. That's irrelevant. I'm going to show you where those settings are. So I'm going to go down to the lower left-hand corner and I'm going to go to settings and beta features. You can see I have those things turned on. Plugins and advanced data analysis. Next, we're going to look at the custom instructions. This is where the custom, now I took all that content out, everybody, because I don't want to, this is live, but this is where you would answer the questions. That's the first question, and that's the second question. And then the key here down at the bottom is you can decide, do you want to enable it for all chat? So I could have left that content in there and just unchecked that. And then when I'm using it, I could have checked it, but I wanted, for the purposes of this training, you to see where that was. Okay, so now you can see at the top, there's 3.5 and 4. I'm going to click on 4. And now you're going to see two other options. There's advanced data analysis, which we're going to take a look at in a little bit. And then there's plugins. We're going to go to plugins. So we're on 4 plugins. And then I'm going to pull this down and I'm going to scroll down because I've already got some installed. This is what yours is going to look like if you haven't installed any. So you can watch the replay, everybody. So don't worry. I'm not trying to go too fast. I just want to make sure you get this. Go to the plugin store. Definitely, you're probably going to want one that can interact with PDF documents. Now, as of this broadcast, they're adding to this all the time. When this first started, there were less, and there's new plugins. So do your due diligence, but I use the AI PDF plugin. I use the Vox script plugin. I use Zapier, and I'll show you what plugins I use and why I use them. So the key here is be outcome focused first. Do not get seduced by technology. We only have an hour today, so I want to make sure that everybody leaves with some golden nuggets and your questions answered. And then, of course, Katrina's already put that in the chat, but if you joined late, 15with4.com will allow you to get a confidential session with me where we can go in and talk just about something that might be relevant to you or your brand or what you're doing. All right, let's jump back into the actual example now. So these are the plugins. I'm going to try to, let's maximize the browser for just a second so you can see that a little easier. So these are the plugins that I've installed. Access link, because I want to be able to put a prompt. Let's say I'm working for Choice Hotels Owners Council. Well, I can go in and I can say, I'm Ford Saeks. Please go to this client's, this website and give me their mission, vision, and values. Well, I need ChatGPT to be able to do that. And that's what this link does. It allows it to go off of ChatGPT. Now, I know that there's Bard and others, but right now we're focused on this. So I have AI PDF. I have Ask Link Bot. I have Canva. This is a great one. I don't know if any of your brands are using Canva. Now, I know what you may be thinking. If you're a franchisor right now and you're a franchisee listening, do not create any marketing materials without getting them approved. But hypothetically, you can go out and use Canva and use ChatGPT to interact and create some content for you. And then I use this Vox script. This is the one that allows me to put a video link in and go out and go to YouTube. So imagine, let's say, the main buckets of a business, right? You've got operations, which include finance and accounting and leadership. You've got marketing, which is, how do you generate leads from a national brand? How do you promote your brand? And a local level, how do you take advantage of your local area territory? And then you've got sales. How do you get new and repeat sales? How do you generate referrals and all those different things? Because that's all I specialize in as a business expert. Is the only thing that matters is if I can help you move the needles, right? You need practical things that you can actually do to do that. So what you want to be thinking about here is, what outcome do you have, and not get seduced by the technology. So let's say you're looking at a TED Talk, maybe by one of the other experts. We've got several of my colleagues that are and speakers that are represented by franchise speakers on the call today too. And let's say you watch one of their YouTube videos or a TED Talk, and you want to consolidate that to maybe create some action steps to open up one of your training sessions. Well, if it's a public video, AI can go out and watch the public video and give you key action steps. You could even say, go and consolidate. So you could go to my training and you could say, okay, Ford did a presentation on mastering AI for franchising. Please go watch this video and give me a checklist of the top 10 most important takeaways from this presentation. And it'll do that. So you can actually interact with things outside of ChatGPT. The next one is AI, which is AI PDF. I asked it to go read a PDF. It read the PDF and it summarized it. Again, you can stop the video later and go back. It's not about what it says on the screen. We're talking about the practical application. We're going to talk about this next one, and then we're going to answer some questions. So ChatGPT 4 has advanced data analysis. It used to be called the code interpreter. This will let you work with large data files. It will let you take data and turn it into visuals. It will write programming code. It will do math, and it will handle all different types of file handling. But remember, you have to go back into your settings and use it. So I'm going to share with this. I went to ChatGPT, and the prompt was, can you create an Excel spreadsheet? If so, make one for the jobs that AI will replace and the human characteristics that will replace. And it created the Excel spreadsheet. Then when I got done, I said, make a word cloud out of the results. And it did it. So what we're saying here is the powers of this are rapidly increasing. It is scary. Yeah. Is it going to take over the world? Possibly. But right now, you can leverage it to save time, make better business decisions, and leverage your time. So all boats rise with the tide. You need to be familiar with this technology because it's just a tool. It's a tool. When I first showed this to my agency staff, one of my staff members said, well, that's cheating if you use AI. And I said, well, you microwaved your lunch, you drove a car. Did you make your own food and catch your own food? Probably not. So these things can be used for a lot of different purposes. So we're going to go live right now. Before we get into the actual prompting, there's 7 steps in prompting, but I want to go live and actually answer some of the questions. So we have a question that came in. What's your assessment of the quality of Writesonic? So Writesonic, I use Writesonic to transcribe audios from audio recordings and video recordings. There are all kinds of services you can do it. So it uses AI to produce the transcript. The more you train it, the better it gets. Remember, just like anything else, you got to treat it like an intern. But again, you have to do due diligence. So I'm not just going to take the transcript from Sonics as 100%. But what I would tell you is AI is pretty smart. So when I create prompts, if I spell something incorrectly, which I've been known to do from time to time, it will go ahead and it understands it. So I don't have to overdo it. It's 100 times smarter than the smartest humans. All right. So then we have the next question that comes in and says, when you're using ChatGPT 4 and have Canva, will it access Canva to create artwork? Well, what it will do, and thank you, Scott, for that question. What it will do is, let's say you have a question, you're in a service franchisee and you provide home services and you come up with the top 10 challenges facing your target market. You could go into ChatGPT and you could say, this is who I am. This is what I do. I need you to go to Canva and pull examples of infographics that would be relevant to this. And so it'll go out and do that. Now, keep in mind, that's going from ChatGPT to Canva and coming back into ChatGPT. But Canva now has also created integrations where if you have a Canva account, again, there's no affiliate commissions here. This is just due diligence. But you can now go into Canva and give it prompts and use AI, and it will go and actually create the content like you're asking, Scott. Also, at the time of this broadcast, yesterday, Microsoft launched Copilot. So all the Microsoft programs, and most people are using some version of Microsoft, I would assume. If you're a Google person, Google is barred, and I'm sure they have their own integrations to Google Sheets and all the Google programs. But Microsoft has Copilot, so you might want to put that on your notes. If your company and your brand is using Microsoft, you probably want to Google and go look at what Copilot's going to do, because Copilot's going to transform Outlook, Word, PowerPoint. I mean, you can go to Copilot and you can say, I'm a multi-unit franchisee, and I want to create a training on how to provide excellent customer experiences, or how to capture Google reviews, or whatever the action step is, and create the training. It'll actually create the whole outline for you and change everything. So it's pretty amazing. What are your thoughts about how the media is wrongly advancing about how AI will remove your job? That's a great question. Look, AI is going to replace a lot of jobs, but it's going to create just as many or more. So all this hype and hysteria about, AI, look, there's plenty of opportunities here for you to leverage it, in regardless of what your role is. The other question I get asked a lot is, what about, the government regulations? Well, again, I'm giving you my take on this. I'm not saying this is what the government can or can't do, But the world is using this technology right now, and I find it very difficult to think that a country is going to restrict it, or at least I'm talking about the US, is going to restrict it when other countries aren't. So, to keep up with the technology, I don't know how they're going to be able to I know that there's, IFA just was in Washington, D.C. with the committee, and they're working on, franchising and all the different things. And I know AI is going to be one of those things. It's going to come up. Like, can you use it? But it's certainly used it. There are risks and everything, but like we've got here, there was a question that says parallels to the perceived risk of AI, calculators in schools in the 1970s, GPSs in cars. Yeah, we're still okay. And that's what I would say. We're going to be fine. We really are. All right. Well, let's go now. And again, if you have questions, type them in the Q&A. I'll stick around. I want to give you 7 steps of effective prompts, and then I'm actually going to show you live. So this is, if you're new, great. If you're an experienced Rockstar user, my question is, are you really using these to the nth degree? So here are the prompts. We'll push this full screen so you can see it. Number 1, type like you're talking to a person. I'll actually get a response and say, no, that's too salesy. That sounds terrible. Redo it. I treat it as a, I don't say treat it like a person with proper leadership skills, everybody, but you want to use AI to communicate. Number 2, be specific, provide context and dialogue. Number 3, tell to and assume an identity or profession, just like I did. I said, please act as my intellectual property attorney and expert and blah, blah, blah. Those are the first 3. There's 7 keys, and then we're going to go out live and we're going to actually show you them. Number 4, use a persona and instruct the perspective. Now, keep in mind, if you've got your custom instructions set up, then when you start a new chat, it's already starting with that premise. So that's why it's important to put your brand voice, your style, the formatting. You can put all of that into the custom instructions, and that will save you time when you're actually using the tool and get better results. Number 5, specify the formatting. Do you want markdown format, which puts headlines and subheads, or do you want it in a table? What format do you want the results in? And the last 2 questions are really important. Ask what else you need. And you saw that in the custom instructions that I talked about earlier, where I said, what am I missing? Ask questions till you understand. Don't answer until you fully understand. So again, you want to prompt it this way. Don't treat this like you would a search engine or like you would Google. You need to really treat it as if you're training a high-level person and you want it to be focused in on what you're trying to get. And then, of course, cite your sources and justify your answers. I want to know, how did you come up with the answer? Where did you come up with the answer? What logic did you use to get to that point? And again, there's a lot of other ways that you can do that. So this is an example of a recent prompt I did. So if you don't have to worry about what the text is in the middle, but pay attention to the steps, 5 of them. Context, task, instruction, clarify, refine. So act as you're an expert in blank. Your job is to do this. The instructions are here, clarify here, and then refine. So again, I've given you the 7 steps, and I've given you the 5 tasks. But you may be thinking, Ford, you're going too fast. But here's all you have to do. Decide what your outcome is, right? Just like everybody's read Stephen Covey, to start with the end in mind, right? And then go to ChatGPT and just have a conversation. But put a very complex chat. So if you're taking notes, write this down. I want you to have complex conversations. I want you to actually have a conversation before you tell it to produce whatever it is you're trying to produce. That's where you can give samples of your style of writing or your brand's voice or what you've done. Now, I've used ChatGPT to respond to customer reviews on Google. And I've said, make it sound conversational. Don't sound like a robot or an AI. And you can do this if you've got a disgruntled customer, or maybe you just have a bunch of Rockstar reviews. But you can use AI as your guide to help you with all different types. We covered the 16 different things that you could do for sure. All right, so moving on, let's go. So I am going to give everybody, anybody who stuck around this long, we're not done, but if you'd like to get a free copy, Katrina said just text her and you can send it one. And I'm also saying here's a QR code if you scan it. My special you just pay shipping and I send a copy of the book out. It's a great book. A lot of franchise brands use it for distributing when I speak at their conferences, and then the multi-unit owners give it to all of their staff, and it's relevant. So I just wanted to toss that bonus. It's a paperback book. I'll send one out to you, and I guarantee you it'll help you leverage your talents on your team. Which brings me to the next thing. Everybody, I mean, whenever Katrina and I do a pre-event call, and Katrina, I'm sure you find this with any speakers on your roster, and you ask the client, what are the top 3 challenges facing your organization today? On every call, usually one of the top 3 is something around attracting, recruiting, engaging, and retaining top talent. Well, you can use ChatGPT to write employment ads. So the benefits are it's going to be consistent with your brand voice. It's tailored to your target market. It allows you to quickly turn around those job ads. And of course, multilingual. We talked about that earlier. Maybe you want to have ads in different languages. You want to make sure that you really include in the prompt the details. Maybe you have a PDF document or a SOP for the job title, and then say, here's who I am, here's what I'm doing, here's what I need. This is everything to it. We good? Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure. So again, you can absolutely use this. I'm getting a little message here. It says, answer Stacy's question. Okay, so please welcome Stacy to the stage here. Now I'll have to make you co-host to do this, Stacy. Don't panic. We can turn it off after you've joined. But go ahead. You're able to. You don't need your video on if you don't want to. But go ahead and ask your question, Stacy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to listen today. I started to listen to one of your recordings before, and when Katrina set this out, I was like, I have to listen to the full thing. So thanks so much. So today we have an online operations manual. We actually host it on WordPress. I think we use a plugin, LearnDash, something along those lines.
I understand.
My end goal is that that I can train the model. My franchise partners can go in, and they can search it today, but they can continue to search it in the future. And I would love for them to be able, to say, I just had my first sales, or my first sales meeting, and I had the objection, it costs too much, how to overcome objections. And I want AI to chat them back and have really meaningful conversations for my franchise partners trained on my model. So how do I go from there to there, or even coach my team to get us there?
All right, so I'm going to give you the level 1 answer, and I'll give you part of a level 2 answer. So thank you for asking that question. So first of all, if you're, and we build WordPress websites, and I understand LearnDash, so I get it. So if you're not familiar with these technologies, everybody, just pay attention to the strategy. Don't get seduced by the technology. Okay, so if that information is publicly available or you've trained your model, then you can, like I have a program on getting referrals and mastering local area marketing, because the franchise brands always want their franchisees to take personal accountability for their own results in their territory. So I had Ford's Rocket Boosters. I have a program called Superpower Success, and the Rocket Boosters were how to accelerate your sales. And it basically came up with 25 different objections that franchise brand got when their franchisees were either on a free quote or on the phone. And so we did short little videos on each of those, put them on LearnDash, and then that way, if the person went to the platform, they could put in, I have an objection on cost, on price, on availability, or I need to wait, or whatever the objection was. So what you would do, Stacey, is you'd have to have the content publicly available, train the AI system, and then it'll do exactly what you just said. Now you can actually, here's the cool part, Stacey, you can actually take the question that you just asked me straight in to ChatGPT, use ChatGPT 4, and then say, hi, I'm Stacy, I'm with this brand, and I have WordPress, and literally you ask the question that you just asked me into ChatGPT, And because it can go out and read information, it'll actually tell you. Now, we've got about 10 more minutes towards the end, in about 6 minutes. I'm going to share a few IFA, International Franchise Association suppliers that also help with these types of tools. So right now we're talking about the do-it-yourself, you're on your own, but there are a lot of vendors right now, and there's actually thousands of new platforms popping up weekly that will be able to do it. Does that make sense so far, Stacy?
It does, absolutely. I do have one question about publicly, right? So one of the things in franchising is we hold our data, we protect ours through Google Business, at My Salon Suite, or whatever it may be, right? So that's not necessarily public. Does that make this impossible, or does it just make it a hurdle that I need to work with my tech team on?
No, well, both, but you can actually, since you have the content and ChatGPT can go read content, you can give it access to get it where it wouldn't be public. It just needs to be accessible from a link. It can be on a Google Drive, and it can be private where they have to log into it. But you can use Zapier and other tools to get the data inside and outside of public and private databases.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was awesome. My favorite prompt is act as my CFO and tell me what I should know. So I love it. It was great. Thank you so much.
So thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and wrap up, and then we'll get to some of the Q&A here coming up. Now, I know everyone loves to use ChatGPT and AI to write marketing, copy, and communications. Now, there are certain formulas that are publicly known by the AI programs. And me as a digital marketer for decades, I've been using these methodologies. So if you have to write copy, these are the abbreviations that you can use in your prompt. So you could say, Stacy, write a cover letter to a prospect to deliver with this, and follow the PAS method of copywriting. So you don't actually have to train AI on any of these methodologies. You just have to be able to use the abbreviation. And that's a lot like a lot of different programs. AI understands it. So I know there's a lot of controversy right now when, create art like Picasso. I know there's a lot of problems, and you've got created. And I'm an expert, and I wrote content, and obviously, say what you want, but as soon as you publish a book, whether, someone has probably uploaded it or some service, even though it's available on Amazon and all those platforms, they've already got the content. So the point is that what you want to do is use the formulas that have already been produced. So there are formulas for situational leadership, for disc profiles, like it understands everything. So chances are you're going to be able to get the results you want from doing that. All right, so this is by no means, these are not endorsed. So Katrina, I put these together, and I know people at Fran Connect, and Keith Garrison, of course. Gerson, I'm saying his name wrong. But Fran Connect, Brandwide, and Client Tether are just three of the many. I would say if you're in franchising, you got to be a member of IFA. There's so many great resources at the International Franchise Association. And these are just three of the many suppliers. So do your due diligence, do your own research. But people always ask, where can I get tools that are targeted for franchising? Well, Fran Connect, obviously. Brandwide has some marketing automation things you should check into, and then Client Tether will also work. Now, but again, there's many other ones out there. These are just three that are franchise specific. And then, of course, these are my favorites. So I'm going to put this full screen. And again, if you're watching this on the replay, all you have to do is pause the video, and then you can open up a new browser, and you can go back and forth. So I do want to go ahead and share just a few of my favorites and why I like them. Obviously, we've talked about Claude because that allows me to use large files. Zapier can get data, just like we were talking about, Stacy, getting data in and out of different systems. So like one of the things that we did with this webinar. So we have a landing page on Katrina's website, franchisespeakers.com. We integrated the Zoom registration form. We connected it to her Zoho CRM, and then we had it go to an email campaign. So we created the workflow, and when you guys, you're already on her list. So most of the people who participated today were on Katrina's list. And so you got it that way. All right. So let's go ahead and continue here with the last part. So I love Claude. I like that one. The script I use for video. Murph I used for voiceovers. So I'm going to share with you the screen real quick. So I'm going to hit. So when I do I have Fortify, which is my Fortify Live. We go live Wednesdays at 11 a.m. on multiple platforms. And if you're a franchisor and you'd like to be featured, like we just had Tropical Smoothies, Charles Watson on, and we've had several others on the program. But if you're a franchisor and you'd like to share your story on Fortify Live, reach out to me. You can certainly do that. You can reach out through email or on LinkedIn or on my list. But what I was getting at is when I do the Fortify Live, it actually automates everything for me. So I needed an introduction for Fortify Live. I'm going to play the introduction real quick. And this was done all with AI, and the voiceover is AI. Now that I've told you, you'll probably recognize it. But let's just see if you can tell that this was done with AI. Whoops, wrong button, guys. Here we go.
Welcome to Fortify Live with your host, Ford Saeks.
And then, of course, it went to the Fortify Live frame. Let's switch that back. Okay, so I needed to do an introduction for the podcast. So I was like, I'm telling everybody else to use AI. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, here's my podcast. Here's what I want. And then I had the voiceover and I'm like, well, I need to get this recorded. I don't have time to jump in the studio. So I went ahead and I went to murph.ai. I put the transcript in. I picked the voice I wanted and it did it. I've also used Synthesia. Think about Synthesia like PowerPoint on steroids. The last one I'm going to show you is superhuman.ai. It's on the right-hand side. I'm not going to show it to you. I'm just going to mention it as a shout out. Superhuman.ai can help you automate and accelerate how you work with your email inbox. And I don't know about you, but I get inundated with email. All right. So as we get ready to wrap up, I'm going to, like I said, we're going to go into Q&A. I'll stay here. I'll stop the recording and we'll share the screen. We can have whatever conversations you want, but I encourage you to join me and the other people at IFA. Katrina will be there. I'll be there at the IFA convention. I'll be in booth 415. You've probably seen that big booth there. Real quickly, in closing, just to get some clarity around this, franchisors use this because they want consistency in their brand and they want to provide the right systems and best practices. Franchisees need to follow their systems, but you can use it for staff training, customer-centric approach, especially for your ideal prospect and client. And then, of course, anything that you have that you want to automate will definitely help you with that. So with that, I'm going to bring Katrina back onto the stage. Katrina, we're going to bring you back on. We won't stop the recording yet. So Katrina, I think did that go fast, everybody? I think that just went super fast. We covered a lot of resources, strategies, and tactics in a very short period of time. Again, if you have questions for me, you stick around. Katrina, do some closing thoughts, then I'll stop the recording and then we'll open up for more Q&A for those that want to stick around.
Wow. So I just want to say thank you so much, Ford. This was, again, another amazing opportunity to learn from you. And you shared things that I work with you all the time. And you shared things today that I didn't even know. I can't remember which part we were, but you were just blowing my mind again. And we're getting lots of great comments. Thank you, Charmaine, for your comment. Diane actually was feeling a little frantic. It was going too fast. So I'm just going to commit to everybody. We'll send out a follow-up tip sheet that I'm going to make in chat. I'll make it myself so that you can see that I'm using all the tools that Ford has shared with us and how he's coaching me in my chat usage. So everyone, please jump in and ask questions. I know we have one more question right now in the question box.
I'll do the question and then I'm going to stop the recording. I'll do the question live. Do you have an idea of what franchise brands or industry are at least 50% at risk that AI will take their staff, technology, and services? Okay, so I am going to answer this question live. So first of all, you can go to ChatGPT and say that same question. You're going to get a whole bunch of things. But here's how you'll know. If the task is repetitive, then probably AI is going to take it over. So the first place to look is what procedures, tasks, interactions. Map out your customer journey and look for those opportunities that are repetitive. Anything that's repetitive, that's the level 1 you're going to be able to automate and integrate. Certainly level 2, chatbots, being able to provide much more effective chatbots than what you might have seen a year ago. Now the chatbots are much more powerful. And when I say chatbots, I'm talking generically. There are dozens of companies that offer the programming, but you can train them now where they have AI that's answering phones, that's driving vehicles, that's automating customer responses. There's website AI that can actually look up the person's IP address, identify what the company is, and change the website dynamically based on what they think that person's coming from. So the opportunities are endless. But just to wrap up real quick, and then we're going to stop the recording. This is Ford Saeks. This has been sponsored by franchisespeakers.com. If you're interested in a presentation by me or any of the other roster members, please reach out to Katrina. So Katrina, I'm going to go ahead and do the clapping, and then we'll go ahead and stop the recording, and then I'll stay here.